Thank you so much, Laura. Flex picks upon flex picks, mind games into mind games. You love to see it in the draft, but ultimately G2 outmaneuvers.
I had the chance to talk to Broken Blade before the tournament started, and one thing he did bring up there and in this interview with Laura was that G2 are a good team, in his opinion, at learning from their mistakes. So with the losses, he even pointed out like how little time they have to in between games, right, to end up prepping for things. So now that they have more time, now that they will have scrims, I think that'll be really great for G2, considering how well they seem to learn from losses.
A moment for G2 to breathe, take everything in, and figure out how they want to change moving forward towards those best of fives.
Yeah, and I want to take over for a little bit there.
Please do, yes.
You know, like
Great, I'll lean back in my chair.
I have a little bit of freedom, and everyone, I don't know if you know this, but Emily Rand has a podcast, and you've been enjoying Emily's analysis throughout the entirety of the event. She's been doing a splendid job, very unbiased. Only team she likes is not even at the tournament or in the LCK playoffs. Sorry, KT. And she and Travis Gafford will be responding to your thoughts on the MSI Rumble stage, and you can submit them now in the Spotify app. And the last episode of Rift Reactions, the reason why I'm doing this is because Emily hates praise, and I just wanted to give you all.
I just love
Honestly,
a bit of joy.
I was expecting to be embarrassed. I didn't expect the KT knife to the heart in there, you know? Like, wow.
More than anything, I just love how every single Rift Reactions plug has fallen on a day that Emily is on the desk itself.
Great. I love it.
It's really tough to have content that you're a part of be actively discussed in front of you.
Exactly.
So I know that feel greatly, but definitely check it out. It's a phenomenal podcast, and get your voices heard on it. We have one game left ahead of us because of the result of that last one. There will be no tiebreakers at the end of the day. And so the standings are solidified, but it will be RNG and T1 going up against each other in the final game of the Rumble stage. Our top two teams, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Mayhem. That's what I'm expecting. Mayhem. I don't think that either team is going to show us anything new here. I'm expecting, things like Kaiser for GALA. Maybe we see Galio priority. Hopefully, maybe. I don't know. And T1 is probably going to drive everyone insane. But the big difference for them, of course, is that they now actually play a little bit more free, and they play into the insanity that we've come to expect from them. So I think it's going to be a very fun matchup to close out the Rumble stage.
Yeah, I want skill checks from both teams. I want everyone going in. Constant fighting. If these two teams don't do that, I will feel very let down. So RNG T1, let's go.
I really hope it's a bloody one. I will continue to hyper-focus on that bot lane where GALA has looked near unstoppable, but expectations are still high for a player like Gumayusi. With that, we're back over to our trio of casters one final time to close out our Rumble stage.
I wasn't expecting the camera to cut to us as soon as it did. I was a little bit distracted, but we are here. Final game of the Rumble stage.
Did you notice? You didn't even get a name this time.
I didn't actually, it's just our casters.
It's just our casters.
It's gone from the three of us to just me and you two to now our casters.
Medic in the squad to...
You've been demoted.
The dudes. I mean, I don't blame Dash for demoting me after I just cast G2 beating EG. I can understand a little bit of perhaps...
It's EU production, they demoted you.
True. Let's get into the game though. Final game of Rumble stage, and it is likely to be a banger. T1 currently 6-3, looking for their 7th win. Obviously lost to RNG last time these two teams faced.
And as much as it doesn't actually affect standings at all, I do think that there is a lot of pride on the line. These two regions really want to beat the other region, it feels like, and these two teams really want to beat the other teams. So I do think there's still going to be a very competitive game here that the teams are going to come out, take it serious. I'm not expecting troll picks and that sort of stuff. I do agree with the desk, though. You don't show anything new, but you definitely want to slam your opponent.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, even for that, I don't think RNG are the type of team who have this deep deck of cards they can pull from. I think RNG are going to keep it pretty standard, even going into best of 5s. I think T1 are the ones who, we know with Keria, right, the Rumble supports or Silas support, any sort of crazy stuff can come out from T1. But even that's just a normal day for the T1 support for Keria.
T1 doing RNG a favor. They banned Volibear here.
Yeah.
Let's go! Wukong banned away by RNG. Jack's ban early on by T1 is kind of implying perhaps that Gwen as a possibility first pick.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought last time in the draft, but then, of course, it wasn't actually first pick. They went to the Viego in the EG case.
Yari also left through as well.
Yep, Ahri, LeBlanc seemed very important. There has been more and more priority on some of these junglers, though, so it'll be interesting to see where they do decide to go. Xiaohu losing the Galio, I think, is very intelligent. He has just looked way too good on it.
It looks like Viego will get the Ahri to kick off this game. Vigo's Ahri, obviously, to be fair, every champion Viego plays, apart from perhaps Twisted Fate at the moment, to
35
be fair.
KDA on Ahri.
That's
not bad.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Is that just the MSI, or is that
just at MSI?
Just at MSI?
I'm really curious to see which way RNG go to answer, though, because I feel like LeBlanc and Vex have been Xiaohu's 2 best champions all split long, especially when he wants something with some agency, for going a completely different way, wanting to stay on those champions, which can still impact sides, but no, going complete, like, help my side lanes, make sure Ben and GALA are having standout performances. And I think it makes sense for this tournament where we have seen Xiaohu struggle in some laning phases, but as long as Ben is stable and GALA is popping off, that's been RNG's recipe for success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're going to want to see Wei getting involved. I'm curious, is Lee Sin going to be high prio here? It is, in fact, still Viego, which really does just seem strange to me. Based on what we've seen on stage, clearly it must be working in scrims, I think, a lot better than it's working on stage, because all the big teams seem to be performing a lot worse with the Viego. I mean, just out of the matchup we just saw, EG's 1-4 now with Viego, G2 1-3. Basically no one is doing particularly well with it.
Apparently, yeah, RNG may be the exception to that rule, 4-0 so far on the Viego. Obviously, having only lost 1 game, it becomes a lot easier to have a high win rate on your champions. So we'll see what the Viego can do here. There's the Gwen that was left open. T1 will lock it in for the top lane.
Yeah, now T1. I mean, you would assume maybe a jungler would come out here, especially with the fact that Viego already taken off the board. Your pool can be pinched quite a bit.
Well, it has to be Lee.
Oner has been someone who's been willing to go with, some of the more niche picks coming out, like things like the Poppy earlier on.
The Vi.
Yeah, Vi is something he's really gravitated towards. And yeah, it isn't going to go towards the Lee Sin. They are going to save that one, say, hey, Oner has enough left in the tank for us to just get the 80 carry that we want.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is interesting because you're for sure expecting RNG now to throw a couple of bans towards Oner and see if Wei can get an advantage in the jungle. Of course, you said it. He's played a lot of different stuff. He even brought out the Kindred. I believe it was in the earlier stage, in the group stage. So there are a lot of options here, but GP becoming what is pretty much the standard answer it now feels like to the Gwen. Of course, Jack's already banned out, and that's kind of the second go-to.
And what happens in this sort of draft is you pick the Xayah. That means that RNG have to think, well, do we want to pick top lane here, or do we want to look towards an AD carry out of our own? T1 now, because they picked the top lane, can pinch that AD carry pool a little bit and put GALA on something perhaps he's not quite as comfortable on.
Well, honestly, I feel like they're going to struggle too because there wasn't a lot of bans towards ADs in the first round, right? So I do think it's pretty tough to actually push him that far down, especially when we know, GALA is pretty flexible. You could do something like taking away the Kaisa. That is very true. Even if you ban out the Ezreal, there is Callista, so maybe you want to ban out the early aggressive ones. But there's always, even just out of those 3, you're always going to have something that he's very comfortable on. Those are his 3 most played. And then, of course, even without those, there's still a Tristana.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go deeper in the pool, right, things like the Aphelios is something he's already showed in the tournament. And even RNG now can just opt into trying to outrange the comp that T1 has put together so far, already having things like the GP, which do prefer to have the enemies running into it, making it easier to land those barrel combinations. And yeah, T1, I would expect, like you're saying, the Kaisa ban. If it doesn't come through, I'll be mind blown. But last year when RNG won that 5-game series against Stomp1, it wasn't banned once in that series. Luckily, T1 not going to go through that same experience, and now we're going to see where GALA goes.
It's so interesting that there's double jungle bans, but it's not Lee Sin. I find that really, really surprising that they're like, no, Vi. Vi is the problem here. More worried it feels like about pick than they are potentially about some of the early presence of that Lee Sin. Of course, Lee Sin can find pick himself, but it's a very easy point and click R onto the Gwen. Gwen cannot immune that. You are going inside the Shroud, whether she likes it or not. And it is, in fact, going to be the Aphelios. So RNG, playing more towards the range, like you said. And it does make me wonder, we saw 5th pick Karma last time around for Ming. Are they going to be willing to go towards a kind of more aggressive 2v2 with a range support? Assuming T1 goes for engage, that's kind of what we're expecting. They grab Nautilus. Do we see something along the lines of the Renata, or is it just going to be matching engage with engage, going to Leona, which is kind of the most obvious one?
Yeah, that's the question, right? Because RNG don't have a huge amount of engage on the rest of their comp. You've got Gravita, Moonlight Vigil, you've got Cannon into Chase.
And Rapid Fire Gold Card is going to be what you're playing around. If you don't draft an engaged support, you're basically just fishing for Gold Card and following up poke off of that.
I definitely wanted to see an engaged support come out because I feel like if you went for something like the Karma like you did earlier, it would just be so hard with Oner on the Lee Sin and how much pressure they can put in that 3v3 specifically. So we get the Alistar, we have some engage, we have some disengage as well, but buy space for GALA to be able to getting off his ults in these team fights. So for T1, I feel like looks very stock and standard. You have a lot of presence in the early game, strong mid-jungle 2v2, engage coming out in the bottom side, just overall very well-rounded comp to where RNG, I think it is going to be a bit more about, again, kiting out the enemy, playing through sides with your double globals, but that's been where RNG has shined.
Absolutely. I mean, they're so good in the mid and late game stages. Even the Alistar, yes, it can be for the engage, but also really strong with the disengage. You know, punt, Gwen, pack. One of the difficulties for Gwen is when you have your zone repositioned, it's kind of not your choice. It can expire very, very quickly. You can only move it twice. So if you drop it, you dash forward, Alistar punts you. That can dissipate and really kind of make you susceptible to some of that damage. So it will be interesting. You know, I do think they want to kite back much more than go in unless it is an odd number fight. Whereas, you know, T1 on the other side, I think looking to play a lot more aggressive, a lot more all in, you know, have that Nautilus flying in, follow it up with the Xayah feathers, you know, try to have that chain CC charm, etc., and really look to kind of get in on those carries from the RNG side.
I think if there's one thing we know T1 can do, probably will do, and have done consistently, is find the early game lead, right? So I like that T1 have continuously indexed to their strength, because I don't really feel like draft would change too much, just them flipping Barons in mid-game or these issues coming through. So it's like, hey, just keep doing what you were doing in LCK to be such a dominant powerhouse.
I'm still sure the T1 flipping Barons is just the ultimate bait. You know, do it 5 times, then catch G2 out with it. Now everyone's like, well, are they flipping? Are they not flipping? Who knows? We'll see as we get into this game. T1 looking for some early game leads. RNG looking to play sides and get towards that more disengage-orientated composition later on. Once again, though, the two favorites for MSI meet on the Rift for our last game of the Rumble stage. RNG, well and away, the top team in this portion of MSI, and will have their pick of who they play in the semifinals.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, they've just been so frightening. I think a lot of the questions that people had about RNG have been answered. Of course, you know, people thinking back to their very messy game that they actually won against T1, the Camille game where he had, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 deaths.
Yeah,
it was a lot of very questionable deaths as well. After that, you know, he gave an interview and he was talking about how, hey, like I decided I'm going to change up my builds. I'm going to play, you know, a little bit more respectfully, a little bit more defensively, and depend kind of on the team. You know, play more around team fights, more around the macro style. And I feel like we've seen that reflected in his play, and he's been very effective with it. You know, even at times, you know, bringing out the exhaust on the Gwen. Of course, that was against
instead of the Ignite.
Exactly. Like he hasn't been going Ignite even multiple times now. He's kind of building more defensively, more respectfully. And I think that makes sense when you look at the carries elsewhere on your team, right? Like you don't have to 1v9 the game as Bin. You've got GALA and Xiaohu.
And it's something that was very frustrating in their run in LPL, where it seems like they were trying to replicate their success from last year when GALA and Ming were having especially a phenomenal playoffs in the LPL, but it was still a lot about Bin. I'm glad they came into this tournament and readjusted to giving GALA all the resources when he's playing so well.
Absolutely. And I mean, I can also see, you know, from Bin's point of view, you think back to his run with Suning, right? Like, how did he have success? Well, he was playing like a madman. He was picking the Jinx and going right, or not the Jinx, the Jax, and going right at them, you know? He has kind of made his career, at least in that early stage, made his name as this really aggressive player who would counterpick you, who would go at you. So it can be a big adjustment.
And looking on the other side of the matchup, Zeus is kind of in that portion of his career right now. We saw earlier today just being a little bit cocky, being a little bit greedy for extra fights.
A lot of bit cocky, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit. But it's great to see this sort of dichotomy between the two, because Bing can still be aggressive and Zeus can still be passive, but at the moment they're kind of butting heads in the top lane.
And just the level that he's brought in, right? Because I feel like when people have thought about top lane carries the past few years, like barring people like Nuggery, it really has been all about the LPL. I'll pause Ming having the flash.
Yeah. The Ignite was ticking on him. Keria did get the hook on him as well. Now, Ming does have the Hex Flash, so it's not going to cost him too much, but it's still not the best.
I mean, there really is the power of the Glacial Augment. You know, when you land that hook, it's, even though he had a well-timed Pulverize, it's so difficult to actually walk it back to the tower. You're going to take so much damage on the way back there. And if Xayah actually got that third feather back and gets the root, then you could potentially die. So I think it was a pretty respectful flash. We'll put them a little bit down here, but I actually like the call.
And overall, I mean, Right, RNG I expect to slow down the early game quite a bit, considering you do have that Alistar and Aphelios down on the bottom side, not too much you can do. GP, sure, you can do decently in the isolated 1v1, your Q range outranges Gwen's Q, it's on a very low cooldown, all of this sort of stuff. Level 6 is really the mark we expect for RNG to start making plays. I think right now is when we'll see a bit more coming out from the T1 side, as Wade just going to shadow.
Faker knows Wade's here. Wade just cleared out a ward, or knows at least he's in the area, so Faker respectfully shadows the bottom side of the map, because when you know the jungler's up there, it's easy enough just to get out of dodge.
And we saw both junglers actually just playing around their laners resetting, right? You know, this is not actually expecting to kill him. He cleared out a ward, he goes mid, he covers the push. Oner previously, as Zeus is pushing up top, he's sitting in that river brush just in case Viego is there. And that's really smart play, because it can be very dangerous. Otherwise, pushing it up, you're basically just flipping it if the jungler is there or not when you're low on health and mana.
Yeah, and it seems like even for T1, actually for Oner, not too many options early with the fact that their bottom lane is pushing in so heavily. And Wei still not going for his reset just yet. Wei really wanting to find something on the map, but T1 just giving no openings.
Sometimes these more delayed resets can really cost you. It shouldn't cost too much.
Going, man.
Yeah, he's still there.
They're going to look with Gravitum. I think it's the setup they're looking for. They're going to try to combo into Gravitum and bring him in. But maybe just worried about a potential lane gank from Oner as well, because it is a little bit bizarre they staying out this long.
Yeah, they're working him all the way up the lane as well. Like, they're definitely expecting to do something. Okay, so Ming was trying a sneaky Hex Flash there, which you can do from one bush to the next without being seen. He just missed it, or he was just in the bush when Keria was in the bush, so he's spotted. Means that RNG don't get the play they were looking for.
Yeah, I think overall it's pretty good for RNG as well, because since Oner had the reset, right, he already has 2 long swords in his inventory. Well, finally upgraded to the Warhammer. That could have been really bad for RNG if Oner was there and there was a 3v3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's still a little bit rough because T1 held the wave, right? So now you kind of have to decide, like, do you want to just base anyway? And they're actually deciding, no, we have to stay and push this in. We have to try to get it reset. But of course, is a dangerous situation because Wei is no longer with them, not shadowing them. It looks like T1 instead decided to just push it. So RNG backed up, faked that they were going to be basing, basically. T1 look for the push on the reset. Now they will fast push here. You know, just utilize their, God, I always forget, Dematerializer. Yep. Dematerializer on the cannon, so you get a fast push. And this can catch people off guard, because generally you're going to base on the cannon wave, knowing that's going to take them a long time to shove that in. So that's often why people are just going Dematerializer on support. It's for these reset timings.
Yeah, and again, just gives you such a big window as a support as well. Now, with Ming getting his reset to look to make something happen on the map, but Oner going to be the one shadowing for Zeus right now.
Needlework coming out, Bin flashes away. Final Needlework from Zeus, doesn't hit. Oner is up towards this top side. Call this a die-hard gank because he comes up through the vents up towards the top. And so the wave crashes in. Q does connect. Bing underneath the tower, trying to survive. Cannon Rush going down as well, but a great destiny from Xiaohu. T1 look for one. Oner able to flash away. Zeus escaping as well. Perhaps T1 can get out of this. Already got 1 kill. Wei and Xiaohu on the chase. Wei dives forward with the flash, gets 1 in response. Faker over the wall. The charm flashed away by Xiaohu. Faker now stun carded. Wei stolen away that Gwen. Can look for a little bit more, but no flashes on either side means that this is likely to fizzle out.
RNG getting a little bit greedy there. It felt like they were trying to go for both at the same time instead of just taking 1 guaranteed kill. It does end up costing them both their flashes on Wei and Xiaohu. If they'd just taken the 1 kill and backed off, it would have been a trade. But I think wanted to get more because Bin had already gone down, because they lost that first blood. They're looking for a little bit of a payback, but now it means they're going to have to be playing pretty defensively here, because Xiaohu could be easy pickings potentially when FLICKR has his ult and flash back up.
I mean, especially with the fact that RNG were the ones who invested so much in this play, right? Bringing Xiaohu up, even Ming using his roam timing to come up the top side, which is beautiful by Oner to hit his Q, make sure they find that kill. And then, like you said, Azael, just both of them going to kind of head in different directions. Zeus able to buy a lot of time with his W, and that was the greed you were just sitting on.
And Zeus now can just chase onto Bin. Needle network not quite up, and Wei was waiting in the wings. Zeus would win the 1v1, but Wei is not having any of it.
It's never a fair fight up in the top lane. That's what you gotta learn. If it's looking a little bit too good to be true, it probably is. Great job there by Wei. But as you saw, you know, in that replay, yeah, they wanted to get more because, as I was highlighting on the minimap, Xiaohu was dropping a wave. He didn't actually have push before he moved. He's not TPing up. He's not ulting up. You know, is actually losing quite a bit there to FLICKR.
I do love the fact that within the first 8 minutes of this game, we talked about how Bin is playing a little bit more passively and Zeus likes to be really aggressive, and then everything is topside and it's Zeus overstepping some of the time and Bin playing passively and waiting for his team to respond.
Wow, we're just so smart.
You guys are
Good
just such
point,
big
Medic.
brain, man.
And now I wonder, I was hoping maybe we'd get more with T1 going towards the Herald. Like, sure, RNG doesn't have key ultimates, but still very LPL thing to look for these fights. Instead, RNG gonna just look for the cross map. We see Ming hovering around Dragon right now as Oner finally does get the Herald.
And I've got to say, it's a way cleaner game than when they played last time, where both teams were honestly having a bit of a fiesta. You know, we saw some crazy Baron flips back and forth. We saw, you know, multiple objectives stolen by Gumayusi's Ezreal. We saw these, you know, crazy fights
like
at Herald as well.
and 4v4s from like 5 minutes in the game, and it just never slowed down.
Yeah, this is basically the polar opposite. It feels like a much more reserved, much more kind of serious style
Which is kind
game.
of crazy when you think about the fact that that one had stakes and this one has pretty much
They want to
none.
win, man. They want to win. And I think in that previous game, it just felt like once they started brawling, everyone just felt like that was the way to win the game, was you had to fight your way out of it. And I think compositionally, it's looking a little bit different, which I think is part of that. You know, RNG, of course, want to play heavily through the 1-3-1, through playing the map, you know, utilizing TF plus double TP, you know, GP ulti for the global as well. And I think that's going to kind of lead you to play a little bit more slowly.
Yeah, and Oner now going to look for this invade. I want to highlight that Ming making his way from base once again, the closer support.
Destiny for the chase. Xiaohu not quite in range. There's the stun card, and yeah, Oner doesn't really have anywhere to go. Dodges away from the Heartbreaker, maybe just a little bit short, kicks away. Doesn't have a ward to jump to because he's got that Rift Herald, so no escape for the T1 jungler.
And just really nice play coming out from RNG. I mean, they set up with the Destiny. They're able to find the pick easily, but again, just Ming always constantly waiting in the wings as FLICKR. Really nice trade. I don't think T1 will be able to capitalize on this, even though Keria now is also around the mid lane as well.
Yeah, with Ming covering, he should be fine. I mean, FLICKR's not playing Knight. I don't think he's going to be able to actually burst him down without the electric group proc even up. But still, it's a good little bit of damage there from FLICKR. He had the push. He knows he's going to walk that way. Bin.
Zeus with the needle work. Does get Bin low. Bin put the cannon barrage down, and with only 208 health, will decide to walk away. And once again, Way's up here. He's ready. He's like, hey, Zeus, you keep slapping my friend. I'm going to come and give you a stern talking to, as he has done 2 times before in this game.
Yeah, and now Zeus, you know, having seen that Way is in the area, probably just has to base.
Yep.
But at the same time, you know, Bin didn't get eyes on that, so he's just going to base as well. Not going to be able to get any sort of a free push. Things staying very even up on the top side. Been very quiet down on the bottom, and I think that does kind of mean good things for RNG. GALA on this Aphelios, you know, farming it up. Of course, there's great scaling on Xayah as well, but a lot of people are just feeling like Jinx and Aphelios are too punishable to play. So if you can kind of get a free lane, then I think you're going to be pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, especially right, looking at the opposite side of the map as well, the GP and the Aphelios. Definitely feels like the longer this game goes, RNG have more of a safety net. But T1, I mean, still having decent scaling and still having great CC and pick potential. If any member of RNG is ever out of position, should be very easily to try and get a numbers advantage fight in your favor.
But with the Herald not up and 2 minutes on the Drake, I wonder if we'll see any fighting really beginning. You can see Oner like trying to shadow the mid lane. They're getting control of this bottom side river, but Way once again is in the right place at the right time to make sure that his mid lane is safe.
I mean, he has to use his Herald soon, so you'd expect to see some posturing coming out from both sides. For T1, I wonder where they're going to use it, really having no plates down in any lane. Looks like they have one down in the bottom side, but Oner pathing up towards top right now.
Yeah, I think he's probably just going to go straight towards top. I think it makes sense, you know, getting the Gwen ahead, especially because Zeus has been punished. Trying to get some gold in her pockets is going to be a pretty big deal.
I think Way and Ming might agree with you as they come up towards the top side. This roaming gank squad from RNG continually trying to answer, but as you say, Oner backed away, so he might just... Did he outsmart their outsmarting? Was he like, I'll path towards top side, they'll expect me to be putting the Rift Herald down top, so now I'll path towards bottom side, put the Rift Herald down there.
He outsmarted himself because he's going to have to drop it in lane. And those are always the really sad Heralds. I mean, they are top side, so we'll see. But I mean, it's timing out pretty soon here.
Yeah, so you have to drop it right away.
Sprint into lane, drop it down. Ming yet to recall. This could actually be a really good timing for T1.
Yeah, I think especially with the fact that
they get zone GALA off too.
FLICKR is pushing in mid as well, so it's not even like Xiaohu can use his Destiny to go down and cover and maybe help out. Ming's still very far away. No cannon barrage, so really no tools to help out down in that bottom side.
They get full tower.
That's really well played by T1. I'd love to see if they spotted Wei and Ming on a ward or something as they work their way up towards the top side, because the play from the way the game had been playing for T1 was put more gold into Zeus, try and get him ahead. We've had so much topside focus, but now saying, well, if we use the Rift Tower bot lane, they're going to expect us on the top side. Very intelligent stuff as Bin tries to trade with Zeus. Cannon Barrage going down, the needlework doing a lot of damage as well, and Bin maybe on the wrong side of this one. Flashes away, Zeus no flash of his own to follow.
Yeah. Really surprising to see Bin even look to go for the 1v1. I mean, he fully stacked Q when Bin was the one to commit for the fight.
He's on a ward, Gumayusi, you can't back there. And because of it, you'll be sent packing. Feathers come out, he almost gets a counter kill, but not quite enough damage on Wei.
Very close to knocking him down, but does end up dying himself. And yeah, I agree, very aggressive from Bin, going in there, trying to actually find the 1v1. Not sure if he just thought he would have the advantage with the initial barrel chain, but didn't look like he was able to really connect on it. And a lot of these all-ins between Gwen and GP are very heavily based around that. It's a lot about using your auto attack reset with the E, the timing to actually kill the barrel right as it's ticking down. So GP kind of has to guess, which can sometimes force you to use that early, but now looking for a dive bot side.
FLICKR caught up with the Moonlight Vigil, with the gold card, and with the Everfrost. No way for him to escape. Oner trying to come in to try and salvage something out of this situation, but it's only he and Keria. Oner jumps across to the Dragon Pit. Smart moves by him to make sure he wasn't going to get caught on his rotation.
Yeah, well done by Oner, but a really well-timed play towards bot side, and great CC chain. I mean, that's an Ahri with flash and ulti up, and they just lock her down, take down FLICKR, and they're going to be able to grab that dragon off the back of this. So second dragon for them. Really nicely done, moving around the map here by the RNG team, and Ming committing the flash, I think, was needed, because if you give FLICKR any of that time to get out, he's going to create so much space.
Yeah, might even be able to take one down with him, but for RNG, I'm actually pretty surprised the way this game is gone as Keria.
What's the ultimate here? The root's going to come out now. There's a lot of damage reduction on the Alistar. As you can see, Gumayusi unable to take him down in the midst of that through the Ignite, the depth charge, the hook. That Alistar ultimate gives you so much tankiness.
And now it just opens up a free Rift Herald for the side of T1, with Ming having to go back to base. I mean, you still don't even have ultimate on Bin or Xiaohu as well to be able to join in this fight very easily. So now T1, we're going to see what they're able to do with this, because I was going to say, I was a bit surprised that T1 haven't been able to get up to that same early game lead that they've been able to consistently, even against RNG the last time around. With all of that knife fighting going on, they were still the one with the gold lead, but RNG have not only been able to find all these ganks with the way up towards top side, but also the one making more intelligent map plays so far.
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing really well. We do have to remember the gold lead lies to you a little bit, because it is close, and it's TF and GP.
TF and GP,
right?
yeah.
So about 4 gold per minion there, for TF, so about 600 of that gold is kind of printed for him. And then, of course, we don't actually know how much is from the parlay for GP, but it is very even if you are excluding that. So quite a close game, but I think the fact that you're up in gold and have dragons is not really how it's supposed to go. Generally speaking, you're kind of supposed to trade the dragons for the Herald, which is supposed to give you the gold lead on the other side. But Wei has had really good pathing, and the fact that he was able to get multiple kills on topside on Zeus and kind of shut him down meant T1 didn't really get to trade for anything.
Yeah, it just, every time we saw T1 trying to set something up, Wei was on the top side answering. We saw Xiaohu with a great first Destiny as well. Often you have to... The first couple of Destinies for TF really set the pace of the game for you. And if you can get a couple of kills there, you can start snowballing. We see now Xiaohu getting behind FLICKR, using that Everfrost. Rapid fire cannon on its way. He's got the stopwatch. He's basically unkillable if he just holds people at arm's length.
It always feels like that so much with a lot of these global champions. Same with Shen, with Nocturne, these champions that are Galio, exactly. These champions that are so ultimate based. You've got to be effective with those plays, because so much of your power is in that. And T1 now just grouping, looking to knock down this tower. They still do have the Herald, but holding on to it. Did have the extra man there, so felt that they could just push in and take it without using the Herald, which I like quite a bit.
Yeah, and I also like the fact that, I mean, T1 not only used the earlier time where they chunked Ming to get Herald, but they also used it to prep the side waves to already be in a position to where now they can look to group up mid and find these timers. This has been an area where T1 has been really strong. And now Keria going for the dive.
Just full on dive him onto Bin. He's going to try and get away, but the cannon barrage is not enough. Keria tanks up a couple of shots. Survives with 27 HP.
Yeah, super close. Still love the aggressive play coming out from the side of T1. RNG trying to answer in both mid and bot. You can see right now Wei hovering around Xiaohu and bot side, and GALA and Ming pushing up mid.
Good charm from FLICKR, brings Xiaohu back up to the tower. FLICKR's going to have to try and get away. The Heartbreaker ticks again. FLICKR down to 58. What is it with T1 T1 and surviving with double-digit HP.
Just barely getting out back-to-back plays. That is big for T1. But at the same time, they will push him out. Nice kick.
You can't get away from the kick. GALA locked out. Gumayusi on the board.
And Oner has just had some beautiful Lee Sin kicks in this tournament. I believe even against RNG in the last one. Great to see him come out once again. And it feels like T1 finally starting to look for these aggressive picks in the mid game that we were expecting.
I mean, big plays from T1 in all 3 lanes, back to back to back.
Oh, almost another one.
Don't know if Keria actually wants that fight if both of them are there, but
it's about asserting dominance. It's not really about whether you want the fight or not. It's about making them think you want the fight.
Guys, I stopped that tempo.
I mean, I feel like this game is about who gets the mental edge going into playoffs.
Yeah.
And I feel like that Chad energy would be the best mental edge you can have.
And at the same time, he was actually going down there, I think, largely just to delay the backs because T1 dropped Herald mid off that kill. They took tier 2 mid. So T1 really getting things going here. They were 1K down when we checked in a couple minutes ago. They have now catapulted a little bit over 1K ahead. But I think a lot of this is going to come down to the setups for this next dragon. I'm really curious, does RNG play heavily through for this 3rd dragon? And it looks like they do want to. They do, of course, have the option of just going towards sides and trying to get gold themselves.
Fight might begin here as the TP comes in. Keria looking for that front line. GALA off towards the back to be able to keep himself alive. In the midst of the fight, Zeus is there, diving on towards GALA, way already down. Ming short to follow the Inferno coming out. Featherstorm used as well as Bin is rooted up. T1 advancing, and RNG falling by the wayside. A double for Oner, the kick connects, a good pulverize. Will stop him with the stun card as well.
T1 just preempt the play. RNG trying to look for the setup, and T1 just hit the go button there. Getting so many kills. Bin TP's in, but he's far too late. Only TP's in to die. T1 grabbing back-to-back kills. Going to be able to grab the dragons, stop the snowball towards Soul, and now have taken away really all of the advantages that RNG had.
Yeah, it's like the second we hit, like right around the 15-minute mark is when T1 just started outclassing RNG on the map, making all these aggressive plays on both sides, making it hard for RNG to respond when RNG have been responding. It's kind of like a roaming death squad with Wei and Ming. We're going to see here how it all starts out. Keria looking for the engage. No cannon barrage on the GP either. And I feel like Zeus actually does a huge amount in this fight, zoning out GALA from being able to have an impact. They get that first initial picture. Moonlight Vigil's able to return 1, but it buys enough time for the other members of T1 on the other side of the fight to join in.
Yeah, I think so much of it was about the positioning of Zeus and the Herald Mist there. Has his Shroud down, is positioning between the 2 carries, pushing both Xiaohu and GALA back at the same time. Also didn't waste the reposition, so even after he pushes Xiaohu back, he still has 1 more reposition, gets in there on top of GALA and takes him down as well.
And the game just explodes to life for T1 from about 1,000 gold behind to now 2,500 ahead at the 20-minute mark. 2 items complete on Gumayusi. FLICKR building up towards his second as well. Death's Dance now complete on Oner. T1 in a very strong position right now.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of it has just been off the back of Oner. I feel like he's, again, had a terrific mid-game so far with the picks he's been able to find and create. And now T1, with this mid lane push, with the fact that they did take those 2 turrets earlier, like Azael said, can very easily push into the enemy jungle, start getting this aggressive vision down. It's going to be very hard for RNG to rotate from lane to lane to answer these pushes, or T1 can just find these easy picks.
I mean, RNG want to play through sides, but like, they have nothing. Like look at the vision, right? They've got absolutely nothing right now. Their vision line is like here, right? Like it's really hard for TF and GP to actually push out and look for plays. Instead, they're going to contest their jungle.
Keria, the one on the front line. Stun cards coming out. Oner onto the back. The damage onto Wei is there, but GALA's able to answer with Keria. Oner jumps onto Bin, but now T1 separated by that cannon barrage. Xiaohu with another good stun card. Zeus has to pop the hallowed path. Oner jumps across the wall, T1 retreating, but the Destiny behind them. Xiaohu's on a ward. Gumayusi puts the damage down. Feathers come out. Xiaohu with a stopwatch to try and help the rest of RNG answer. Good flash as well away from the charm. RNG get a kill. Do they turn their eyes towards the Baron? Instead, they say no. They'll reset and catch these waves.
Yeah, I feel like RNG, not the type of team in the LPL we have that goes for these kinds of crazy, risky Barons. They are not going to take a page out of TS's or V5's book. And I got to say, kind of sad for T1. Keria looking for the engage. Oner going in onto Wei actually kicks him away, so they aren't able to find the pick, and everything going in RNG's favor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the initial hook there onto Wei. Wei just buffers the ultimate, gets out. The kick comes through, as you say, from Oner, kind of punting Wei to safety. And then the GP ulti was just so well placed. T1 having to retreat back through that. And then Xiaohu looking for the flank, but it was, of course, warded out. Gumayusi here, acting as though he's face checking, walks up, starts hitting him. Xiaohu does play this well to survive, but still, that's your ultimate, your flash, and the stasis, all to survive.
Yeah, all tools that you want, in the upcoming engages. 2 minutes until Dragon, which is where I was going to say I expect to see the next team fight, but actually T1 have been playing so proactively and aggressively. I wouldn't be surprised with them now aggressively pushing into the bot side jungle, getting this vision down, to see them start making more plays around the bot side and around Zeus's Gwen against Bin's GP.
For the moment, though, we have a brief second of silence in the eye of the hurricane that has been the last few minutes. A blue sky for us to take a breath, reevaluate exactly how the game is going. 2,500 gold lead for T1, 4 towers to 1 as well. A Drake for them, 2 for RNG, means that RNG would be on soul point if they can secure this next one. It is only Cloud, although that's fitting for a game with T1 in it, I guess. If only Atlas were here. I was going to say.
NA are the original Cloud Soul lovers.
That's true.
Let's not forget. He's a late adopter. They used to flame Cloud Soul over in the LCK. We've always been fans.
I'm sure RNG would be fans of getting it in this game as well. For the moment, though, T1 with control over basically the entire map. Look at that vision. A control ward by RNG's blue buff. A ward in the pit that's being disabled by a control ward from T1. And that's about it for RNG. They have to walk as 4 together to try and gain some vision control back.
Yeah, we can see right now, even just the observers toggling, right? No vision down towards the bot side either, so Bin not able to safely push out. It just goes back to, right, if you're a comp that plays through sides and your solo laners start to fall behind like the Gangplank has, right, Zeus having a bit of an advantage. Sure, he makes up for it, like you said, with the GP passive in terms of gold, so it is 2 items to 2 items. It just becomes a lot harder to play for the side of RNG.
Yeah, absolutely. And even this next Dragon, like I don't know that they can really approach it. It feels like maybe you're just trading vision in the Baron area for the Dragon, and that's about it, right? Which isn't a big prize by any means, but I don't think you can just walk in blind here. Bin even going to be pushed back out of his own jungle. They're looking for FLICKR on top side.
They can push a little bit too far forward. Gold card comes out. There's the root as well. Ming needs to get in range for a knockup, but FLICKR can just get back to the tower. Ming was not close enough, and FLICKR escapes with the Spirit Rush.
Ahri just so safe in those side lanes because you have so much mobility. Even without a tremendous amount of vision and coverage on that side, and his team playing towards bot side, FLICKR knows, unless there's 2 people there immediately, like you have to have the CC layering or you're never going to kill Ahri.
Yeah, now for RNG, not even really able to trade any aggressive vision up towards the top side. They do have some. They did get, 1 or 2 wards down to really spot out if T1 are up in the Baron area, but still after these resets, you expect T1 to come back with more control wards, re-establish vision on the top half of the map, and then once again look for those picks that we saw before, where actually it was Keria who got caught off, but still T1 definitely going to be favored if they are pushing aggressively into RNG's jungle.
Big item completion though for Gumayusi, has the IE complete. That is absolutely huge. Really going to be in a huge power position now over GALA, who's going for LDR third. It's possibly just pit stops for Last Whisper and then tries to go to IE. But either way, he is super far away from that spike, and it's just such a massive deal for these crit marksmen.
Yeah, I feel like RNG are actually relying a lot on Bin's damage with the way that GALA has itemized so far, so he's going to have to really hit some massive barrel chains.
And it just feels very difficult for GALA to actually ever get in. Zeus has been positioning so well, using the immunity, just kind of standing in between GALA and the rest of the team. Even if Bin isn't, is able to hit some barrels, I think it's very difficult without the follow-up if GALA can't be evolved to really take down a fight.
Especially with the fact that T1 have been pretty good at putting in Keria, Oner, and Zeus at the same time, to where Ming has to use his headbutt pulverize on a different member, so he can't, displace Gwen from the Hollowed Mist like you were talking about in draft. So I think T1, again, just doing a really nice job engaging at the same time, playing through these angles. And we can see here, RNG just being completely choked out from their own jungle.
It's really smart stuff by T1 as well. They push their vision line up, deny any vision that RNG can get in this quadrant of the map, and then because of the time they've spent here, they know there are no wards behind them because they've all expired in the time that the T1 have been pushing forward their vision line.
I know what time it is now, though. This is where T1 flips Baron.
Oh,
this is what we see every game. This is past 25 minutes. They have the lead. This is the Baron flip time.
That ward, though, is really, really smart because with that ward placement, you actually have to have a control ward both inside and outside the pit. Yep. T1 does not. They only have one in the pit. So RNG full vision on this, which allows them to approach because otherwise you couldn't, knowing that there could be a face check.
Keria's going to land the hook onto Xiaohu. FLICKR going in. Charm just short, stopwatch used on either side. Everfrost for 2. Ming with the unbreakable will gets a double knock as well as Keria is low. Oner dives onto the back, kicks in GALA, but GALA's able to flash and get himself away with the Gale Force. Oner low. Xiaohu first to fall. Oner will fall as well. The Inferno coming out as this fight really begins. Wei looking for the resets. Been hooked by Keria. They turn back around. FLICKR dives back forward, but the charm goes wide once again. 3v3 now. Gumayusi, FLICKR, and Zeus against GALA, Bin, and Wei. Perhaps for the bragging rights to the end of the Rumble stage.
Oh, that sidestep on the hook was so big from Gumayusi. If you get hooked there, you're definitely dead with no summoners, no ulti. And it could have meant RNG.
TP.
Look for more, but yeah, FLICKR coming in. He doesn't have his ult, though. We'll see how much he can actually get.
Zeus has TP as well. FLICKR looking for something.
Nothing.
GALA and Bin have retreated. Gumayusi pushing forward, trying to steal away a Krug. He won't get anything out of that either. And the fight was so darn close.
Yeah, I feel like the positioning from both AD carries was so key in this fight. Azael already highlighting the ward to make sure that RNG know this is happening. Looks for the engage. Great stopwatch to buy time for the rest of his team to come in. And Ming critically trying to put himself between him and the enemy team. But it's going to be Oner here who finds his way onto GALA. Things started to look dicey with FLICKR coming in as well. Wonder if no charm was up in that instant because GALA able to get the flash away. Some kills traded back and forth. Moonlight Vigil hits, and this is where I thought RNG were going to take over with Wei getting in, but Zeus being safe enough to not go down.
Well, and Zeus, I think, actually stepped forward and dodged the ultimate damage there from the Viego. So very narrow margins here. Avoiding that would have meant a lot if he goes down. And then again, a great sidestep. You know, really nice play, back and forth here. Tiny things making the big difference. That charm being down for FLICKR meant that GALA survives, meant that RNG had a chance.
And I'll be honest, after the first time these two teams met and it was so hectic and so bloodthirsty, I was feeling a little bit let down. Because I was like, where is the RNG T1, like, absolute macro geniuses, 5 head level play, these team fights that go back and forth, and it's delivering, and this is only Rumble stage. We still have playoffs left to go.
Well, and it's great to see Gumayusi having a good game, because I think he has deserved some of the criticism that he's been getting, and he has not really been playing to the level that is expected. Everyone was looking at him and Keria as best bot lane in the world, you know, and in regional play. I think it's really hard to argue that. They looked incredible, but Gumayusi has not been able to live up to his own standards whatsoever, and now having a great game here, in position to really take over and carry this one for T1.
And I gotta say, the dichotomy between the two games we've got from these teams just makes me even more excited for a potential best of 5, because you know you can get the crazy
to a team that
fight.
can do it all.
Exactly. Well, you don't know what to expect, and you also know to expect everything. It will be a beautiful moment if it happens. No, I don't want to say it'll happen for sure.
T1 at the moment get the tier 2 in the bottom lane. Zeus was able to push that one up. Xiaohu was pushing towards the top lane himself. He's going to continue his advance. Actually, does have the TP. Zeus in a good position against Bin, a level up, and 50 CS to the good with Demonic Embrace now complete on that Gwen. Very difficult to deal with in a side lane. T1 will back away to get their 3rd Cloud Drake of the game. Destiny popped here by Xiaohu. Where are you going to go? FLICKR is there. Destiny's out. FLICKR's not going to Spirit Rush Charm. Doesn't think he can get there in time.
Yeah, just very reminiscent of last year's RNG, right? Because that was their big strength, was how well Xiaohu can play sides. Sometimes I feel like even over-indexing to a fault of how much he'd be willing to give up. Bin.
Zeus onto Bin.
You're dead.
Oh
my God.
Holy. Put him in the trash. His name's Bin already. That's what Zeus has done.
Gwen may be immune, but GP apparently is not.
Yeah, that one... I mean, Bin definitely having a much more stable, like, laning phase we've seen in the second half of Rumble stage. Definitely having a rough time in this one, and T1 going to go straight towards the Baron.
No Destiny available for Xiaohu, remember. Baron started, Wei can, of course, Heartbreaker in, can look for that smite. Xiaohu, no smite off the unsealed spell, but Wei pinged with Sonic Wave. Keria looking for the flank position here. Zeus goes immune. Keria going in with the depth charge. FLICKR coming in from the side as well. Ming goes in. The Heartbreaker as well. But it's secured by Oner. And now Wei and Ming are in the pit. Amidst 4 members of T1. FLICKR diving forward as well. Looking for that Everfrost. Ming will fall to Zeus and Gumayusi down towards the bottom side. But the hook's going to hit as well as GALA is kicked back. And GALA is shut down. FLICKR continues to chase. And RNG are left wanting.
I just love T1 going for the Baron. Zeus the one to set up the pick. He's been the highlight member for me in T1 this tournament. And T1 now able to barrel down through the base.
nice.
Yeah, really well done there by T1. This one, even if it was stolen, they were always going to win the fight. They had the pick on bot, no hesitation, immediate TP. They're looking to end here. T1 with a huge win after what has been a disappointing group stage for them.
A statement performance for T1. Many wondered if their form was temporary. Well, it seems like the Giants have awoken from their slumber. T1 destroy RNG.
Form is temporary, but class is permanent. And T1 coming out on top here. The Busan crowd coming alive for this one for sure. They were expected to be heavy favorites. They lost to the big two in their first round robin, and a lot of questions started to be posed. But T1 now, I think, showing us their best game here of the event. We're against a really high quality opponent, looking very clean, very decisive.
Overall, just amazing performance again. Xayah is stepping up to be the guy that, like Chronicler said at the start of the day when Dash asked him who do you think is the best performing player in the tournament, his was the name he put out. And I definitely think, again, just extraordinary so far. Oner with an amazing game as well. But I just got to say it again. Just seeing the 2 games, I just want the best of 5 because it will be insane.
I'm sorry, though, because RNG can't pick T1, so we know that then both not getting to the finals.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're getting the EGG2 finals, like you guys said.
It's 2019 all over again. It's going to happen. But yeah, great performance by T1, especially since domestically they won in the early game and then they carried that form through the rest of the game. Here, they were behind in the early game. Like RNG were in a very good position. Even compositionally, we were saying we think RNG is good in this game. And then T1 were able to find just that sequence of events, that sequence of picks to get themselves ahead.
And I think people were really critical of some of their drafts. You know, you look back to the game against G2, the blind TF was heavily punished. This time, you know, finding some really good answers. I think that Gwen was so critical. You know, Zeus, yes, he got put down a little bit early, but was amazing in the team fights, finds that pick in the side lane that really leads to the Baron. I felt like he was the major difference maker here for T1.
Yeah, just their ability to like use one small advantage that a player can find and then turn it into like 3 or 4 towers, a dragon. That was really the thing T1 did in that like 15 to 20 minute mark that just made the game start ballooning in their favor.
And it's what T1 of old did as well. Some flashbacks perhaps to the glory days for T1. This concludes the MSI 2022 Rumble stage, but we're not done yet. As MSI cooldown and an interview with none other than FLICKR awaits you after this break. Stay tuned.